I love 1st and 2nd Kings. I find the book absolutely fascinating. It's filled with stories of love, betrayal, war, and miracles. The book is filled with iconic characters too, like David, Solomon, Elijah, or Elisha, and from really important moments in Israel's past. It covers over 400 years of history and follows the path from the height of Israel's united kingdom to the division of that kingdom and the destruction of both Israel and Judah. I could go on and on about how much I love this book, but today I wanted to share 3 things that I wish I had known sooner when I started studying 1st and 2nd Kings. Lesson number 1. 1st and 2nd Kings is not only a historical book. Christians typically divide the Old Testament into 4 major sections: the Pentateuch, the historical books, the poetic books, and the prophetic books. According to this division, 1st and 2nd Kings is a historical book, and that raises a specific set of questions. Did these events really happen? How do we know? Does archaeology support the Bible? These are all interesting questions and worthy of consideration. But what if I told you that 1st and 2nd Kings is not only a historical book? Jewish people divide their Bible, our Old Testament, not into 4 sections, but into 3: the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. 1st and 2nd Kings is one of the prophetic books according to this organizing structure. Now, that raises a dramatically different set of questions. How can a history book be prophetic? And what makes these books prophetic anyways? By shifting our perception of what 1st and 2nd Kings is, we dramatically change the types of questions we bring to the text when we read it. Lesson number 2. 1st and 2nd Kings is the end of one section of the Bible. Similar to the first point, I wish I had known that 1st and 2nd Kings is the end of a section of the Bible. When we finish 2nd Kings in the Christian Bible, we dive straight into 1st Chronicles. You'll be forgiven for thinking that you just read these stories. You did. 1st and 2nd Kings and 1st and 2nd Chronicles are in very different locations in the Jewish Bible. 1st and 2nd Chronicles comes at the very end of the canon. 1st and 2nd Kings comes after 1st and 2nd Samuel, just like you're accustomed to, but it's followed by the book of Isaiah. In fact, 1st and 2nd Kings stands at the end of a long section that begins all the way back in the book of Genesis. Genesis through Kings tells the story of Israel from creation to the Babylonian exile. 1st and 2nd Chronicles retells that whole story, but ends with the return from the Babylonian exile. One history, Genesis through Kings, is written from the perspective of the exile. The other history, Chronicles, is written from the perspective after the exile. Lesson number 3. 1st and 2nd Kings is written from the perspective of the exile. It's hard to overestimate how important the Babylonian exile is for understanding the Old Testament. So many of the books were either written or edited during or after the Babylonian exile. 1st and 2nd Kings ends with the last of David's heirs imprisoned in Babylon. He's alive only because the Babylonian king is merciful and lets him eat at the king's table. This detail lets us know that the author or editors of 1st and 2nd Kings are working during the exilic period because they know that the king is in exile, but they don't write about the return. Can you imagine the type of questions you would ask if you were living during the exilic period? What just happened? Why did God let Babylon conquer us? What will happen to God's covenant with his people? And wasn't one of David's descendants supposed to be on the throne forever? If you go back and reread 1st and 2nd Kings with these questions in mind, I promise it will really change the way you understand the book. I spent years studying the Bible, especially the Old Testament, and I'm constantly having aha moments just like the ones I've described. Figuring out how the Bible fits together and how the historical details help us understand what's happening is fascinating, and it makes studying and reading the Bible more enjoyable. That's why I created a discipleship program called Quiz Through the Bible. It has a strategic Bible reading plan that will guide you through some of the Bible's most important chapters. And after you read those passages, you take quizzes to master your knowledge of the content. This process will help you make better sense of the Bible as a whole. You can find a link to Quiz Through the Bible in the description below. Before you go, let me summarize 3 things I wish I had known about 1st and 2nd Kings sooner. Number 1. Kings is not only a historical book. Number 2, Kings is the end of a section of the Bible. And number 3, Kings is written from the perspective of the exile. I hope these 3 insights help you understand the Book of Kings better. I'd love to know which one you found the most interesting. Let me know in the comments below.